Do you know why your calm breaks when pressure quietly enters the room? What if your reactions were scripted by patterns you never learned to see? If you want an unshakable mind, listen, because the real training begins. You were taught to value speed, yet power chooses deliberate slowness under stress. You were taught to speak first, yet power studies silence before choosing words. You were taught to defend quickly, yet power reframes the field before moving. This is the hidden link between emotional discipline and Machiavellian mastery. It is not about control over others. It is control over inner levers. The first lever is attention, because attention shapes meaning, before meaning shapes action. Notice the instant a trigger appears. Your attention narrows without permission. A look, a tone, a pause. Each signal compresses your awareness. When awareness narrows, your options shrink and your reactions grow predictable. The disciplined mind widens attention before responding and regains lost room. Power lives in that regained room, where choice becomes slow and precise. You build this room through a simple protocol that never draws suspicion. First, meet the trigger with a neutral breath, not a deep breath. Deep breaths can signal nerves. Neutral breaths signal steady baseline and presence. Inhale softly through the nose. Pause briefly. Exhale slightly longer with ease. Keep the face calm, keep the eyes soft, keep the jaw loose. This resets the body clock by a small degree without notice. 2. Neutral breaths shift your state enough to delay the first impulse. Second, name the internal event in a single quiet phrase within mind. Say pressure rising or boundary touched or bait detected in plain language. Naming breaks fusion with the feeling and the feeling loses grip. Now the third move, ask a short internal question that widens space. Ask, what is the frame offered here, and who benefits from it? Asking redirects attention from emotion to structure, which neutralizes automatic compliance. Frames rule interaction, because the frame defines what any behavior means. If the frame says you are late, defense means agreement with blame. If the frame says you are weak, anger confirms the hidden script. Emotional discipline is the art of refusing the first offered frame. Machiavellian mastery is the skill of proposing a quieter frame that serves. The cleanest way is not attacking. The cleanest way is redefining. To redefine, use the triad of clarify, constrain, and choose with patience. Clarify shifts fog into facts. Constrain narrows chaos into a fair lane. Choose selects a move that fits your values and long plan. Clarify begins with one simple line that sounds neutral and calm. You say, help me understand the standard you are using right now. This moves attention from you to criteria, which cools heat and speed. Next, constrain the scope so the test cannot expand without logic. You say, let us focus on the single point that truly matters. Now the frame becomes one point, not many, which reduces strategic overwhelm. Finally, choose the move that maintains your center and protects your aim. You can ask for time, you can request evidence, you can offer alternatives. Every choice is slow, minimal, and aligned with the larger game. Understand the hidden tests used by quiet manipulators who avoid direct demands. The first is urgency flooding, where fast clocks push you into mistakes. You counter urgency by setting a process clock that appears reasonable. You say to decide well, I will review this in 2 phases. Phase 1 is facts only. Phase 2 is options only. Decisions follow afterwards. Notice the speed drops. Notice your mind clears. Notice pressure loses leverage. The second test is bait exposure, where you are invited to overreact publicly. Bait tries to paint you as unstable, so your words discredit themselves. You counter bait by returning to the neutral breath and the triad. Clarify the actual claim, constrain the scope, choose a proportional response. Never swing at every thrown word. Conserve force for the decisive strike. Power is conservation, not explosion, because conserved force bends outcomes quietly. The third test is boundary drift, small pushes that normalize larger pushes later. You think you agreed to something small? Then the demand grows higher. You counter drift with pre-commitment, an early line that sets non-negotiables. State your limits in calm language before negotiations deepen and stakes rise. Repeat those limits verbatim when drift appears, using the same exact phrasing. Consistency creates an anchor, and anchors reduce the other side flexibility. The fourth test is identity hooking, praise or blame to capture your self-image. If you chase praise, you become guided by the giver of praise. If you fear blame, you become guided by the wielder of blame. You counter hooks by separating identity from performance for this single moment. You say identity is not on the table, only standards and outcomes. This brings the field back to structure, where emotion loses its command The disciplined mind also understands emotional budgets and attention rations. You decide in advance how much energy you will spend on friction. You decide which topics deserve long answers and which deserve short lines. You decide which provocations receive silence and which receive structured replies. This budgeting is the invisible armor that keeps you calm during storms. Most people bleed attention without noticing and then wonder why clarity dies. Remember the law of first movement. The first movement is inward, never outward. The inward movement is the scan, breath, name, and question sequence. The outward movement is the triad, clarify, constrain, and choose, in order. Use short sentences, use soft tone, use steady cadence, avoid sharp edges. A steady cadence signals authority without arrogance, which disarms watchers nearby. Your goal is not domination. Your goal is command over your instrument. Another secret is the distinction between reaction and countermove. Reaction serves the other frame. Countermove serves your long-term frame. The gap between them is made by a ritual of brief delay. Count 2 slow heartbeats before speaking. Count 2 slow heartbeats before moving. This is not frozen silence, this is composed selection. It feels different. People sense the difference and often recalibrate, which gives you further room. Learn to read the 4 microsigns of inner flooding in real time. 1. Your vision narrows toward one point, and peripheral cues vanish quietly. 2. Your tongue presses the palate, and shoulders rise without any reason. 3. Your thoughts loop around prediction of loss, and language grows absolute. 4. You feel a moral urge to correct someone quickly and publicly. When any sign appears, run the internal sequence without asking for permission. Train detection through daily microdrills that take less than 2 minutes. Choose one small trigger, like waiting, questions, or minor disagreement, and practice. Apply the sequence, run the triad, and watch your recovery speed improve. Log a single-line reflection after each drill. Keep it simple and clear. Write, trigger noted, sequence used, state recovered, lesson learned, nothing more needed. Small drills compound into large stability, and stability is applied power. Use language that signals fairness while protecting your position from hidden traps. Say, let us compare options on shared criteria and weigh trade-offs with honesty. Say, I will decide after I review, not before and not during. Say, I do not trade speed for quality where consequences are significant. These lines express values without blame, which keeps the air free of smoke. Smoke-free rooms favor clarity, and clarity favors the calm strategist. Recognize the tactic of forced polarity, where you are offered only extremes. Accepting extreme frames makes you easy to steer with small nudges. Counter polarity by introducing a middle lane that you can defend. You say, there is a third option that preserves gains and reduces risk. Then you define it with careful steps and a fair verification method. Watch as pressure declines because extremes lose force once a middle appears. Never confuse humility with softness. Humility is alignment with truth under pressure. Softness without structure invites exploitation. Humility with structure invites real respect. The disciplined mind states uncertainty clearly and sets a review checkpoint. Say, I do not know yet, and I will examine these 3 factors. Say, after review, I will either proceed, adjust, or decline with reasons. This is sober power, calm in tone, firm in boundary, generous in process. Adopt the habit of value-first questions when tension rises around decisions. Ask, what is the real aim behind this push, not the surface claim? Ask, what outcome does this choice unlock in 3 months and beyond? Ask, what cost follows in trust, time, and optionality if I rush? Value-first questions prevent you from playing on a board you never chose. The one who chooses the board controls the shape of possible victories. Hold steady against covert guilt levers that punish self-protection and fair delay. You owe no instant access to your energy. You owe clear process. You owe measured empathy without surrender and respect without blind agreement. You owe truth to your own standards before you offer truth to others. This mindset keeps your core intact while your tone stays warm. That is the union of emotional discipline and strategic intelligence in action. You may wonder how to stay calm when provocation keeps increasing pressure. The answer is a layered design, not a single trick or line. Layer body, then language, then structure, then timing, then review, in order. Each layer takes weight off the next, which prevents collapse under strain. Make the ritual automatic through drills until it feels like natural posture. When posture changes, the world treats you as steady ground under uncertainty. The final insight today is quiet and sharp at the same time. People do not only test strength, they test self-respect and inner standards. Pass that test, and many games end before they even begin. You will not win every exchange, you will win your inner jurisdiction. That is the field that matters for long games and enduring influence. But tell me, if someone tried to rewrite your standards with praise tomorrow, would you notice before your mouth agreed? Do you know why calm people seem powerful even when they speak softly? What if their silence is not stillness but a precise psychological signal? If you want to read hidden control beneath calm expressions, keep listening. Calmness is not absence of emotion. It is command over signal timing. Every emotion sends microsignals through tone, pace, and movement. The disciplined mind edits these signals before they escape without suppression. This editing is not fake composure. It is strategic signal management. It turns raw emotion into calculated expression, which shifts perception subtly. Machiavellian intelligence begins where emotional discipline becomes performance control. Most people believe expression equals honesty, but honesty without timing is weakness. A sharp truth said too soon destroys leverage, while silence builds it. This is not deceit. This is psychological sequencing. Each sequence starts with pause, analysis, then release of selected truth. You learn to delay reaction long enough to see what others reveal first. What they reveal becomes your data, and data defines next move. To master signal timing, learn to measure emotional latency, not emotional speed. Latency is the space between feeling and expression, the field of choice. Those who collapse latency become readable. Those who stretch it become unreadable. Unreadability is the foundation of psychological defense, not aggression. People cannot manipulate what they cannot map. So you must become a pattern without visible entry points. Observe the law of mirroring. Every person unconsciously adjusts tone to match energy. If you remain slow, grounded, and rhythmically steady, others synchronize downward. This creates calm dominance without visible assertion. Emotional discipline thus becomes invisible leadership. You do not demand control. You create the conditions where control happens naturally. But remember, calm tone without grounded presence becomes empty imitation. Grounded presence forms when emotion passes through body awareness before thought. Feel tension in stomach, shoulders, or throat before it turns into speech. Relax those muscles while holding stillness. This rewires response channels silently. The more body awareness you maintain, the less emotion leaks prematurely. Premature emotion weakens authority because it broadcasts reactive data. Discipline hides data until timing favors revelation. The next layer of mastery is tone modulation, not tone suppression. You vary tone in 3 degrees: neutral, reflective, decisive. Neutral invites clarity. Reflective invites connection. Decisive closes loops. The skilled mind shifts between these tones like a hidden dial. Each tone carries specific psychological weight on the listener. Neutral tone invites truth. Reflective tone invites trust. Decisive tone invites follow. But tone control without emotional congruence feels manipulative, so the emotion must be acknowledged internally, not denied. You feel it fully, name it privately, and channel it deliberately. This process transforms emotional charge into psychological currency. Anger becomes assertion. Sadness becomes empathy. Fear becomes foresight. None are suppressed. All are reframed as usable power. Remember the law of emotional gravity. Strong emotions pull weaker ones into orbit. If you stay anchored, others unconsciously orbit your energy field. This is why calm presence feels magnetic in heated rooms. The Machiavellian mind does not conquer emotion. It converts its direction. Conversion is quiet alchemy, unseen by those still chasing control. But it requires discipline through repetition, not wishful effort. You must train recovery speed after emotional hit, not just composure during peace. Measure recovery in seconds between trigger and reset. Reduce the gap through breathing and cognitive naming drills daily. You will notice control no longer feels forced. It feels natural. You will speak slower without trying. You will pause without fear. These micro-behaviors signal high status subconsciously to others. Influence increases with delayed self-defense. The first to justify loses silent power. The one who waits controls narrative. Justification is emotional leakage. Stillness is psychological leverage. When someone challenges you, answer their question with a question calmly. This transfers frame control without visible conflict. You appear fair, but you steer meaning beneath the surface. Internal questions shape external power, so refine them like tools. Ask, what is this person trying to confirm about me? Ask, what emotional outcome are they unconsciously chasing here? Ask what frame must stay unchallenged for them to feel safe. These questions remove personal heat and reveal the real engine behind words. Once seen, the engine loses control power over you. Most manipulations target urgency, validation, or guilt. Urgency exploits your pace. Validation exploits your self-image. Guilt exploits your empathy. Calm dismantles all three because it breaks emotional tempo. When tempo breaks, the manipulator's rhythm collapses into confusion. You do not fight back, you simply slow the tempo until control reverses. The one who controls tempo controls perception of authority. Notice how calm people rarely argue but always direct structure. They define terms, reorder sequence, and shift emotional lighting of the room. This is not coincidence. It is trained awareness of framing hierarchy. The hierarchy starts with energy tone, then emotional pace, then verbal structure. Each lower layer obeys the higher one without conscious effort. So master energy first, words later. Because power flows top-down, never forget the paradox of calmness. Too much peace without strength breeds dismissal. True calm carries potential energy, not emptiness. You project alert stillness, not sleepy indifference. Alert stillness signals readiness without desperation. This posture keeps others respectful without triggering rivalry. It is the perfect blend of warmth and weight. And when people test your limits through repeated provocation, you do not explain boundaries, you enforce timing. Pause. Let silence grow until discomfort returns to them. Silence is not absence. Silence is mirror, and mirrors reveal intent. Many games collapse under their own echo when you refuse to echo back. That is emotional discipline at strategic altitude. But what happens when silence fails? When pressure keeps rising, despite composure? What mechanism activates behind their insistence to break your calm? And how can timing itself become a shield so strong it bends aggression into cooperation? You will learn that in the next layer of the manual. Do you know why certain people provoke calm minds until they finally break? What if their goal is not truth, but to rewrite your emotional rhythm? If you want to stay untouchable even when provoked, stay very still inside. Provocation is a strategic act, not random emotion. It tests your internal order, searching for entry points of control. Every manipulative interaction begins by locating emotional weak zones. Those zones are not flaws. They are untrained boundaries of awareness. When someone provokes you, they are measuring your reflexes, not your strength. The faster you react, the clearer your psychological map becomes to them. Emotional discipline protects you by disrupting that mapping process. It forces the manipulator into uncertainty, making their patterns collapse. Uncertainty is poison to those who rely on emotional predictability. When they cannot read you, they begin to reveal themselves unconsciously. They start to speak faster, repeat phrases, justify motives, and over-explain. The quiet observer does not attack. They document patterns silently. This is the first secret of counter-control, the art of invisible observation. Observation is not passive, it is a hidden extraction process. You are not watching to react, you are watching to decode sequence. Each repeated phrase reveals need, each interruption reveals insecurity. The true manipulator hides behind confident tones but leaks micro-inconsistencies. The more patient your observation, the louder those leaks become. Train your attention to listen beyond words, to pauses, pacing, and micro-hesitation. People hesitate when their story detaches from truth. They pause when emotion misaligns with intention. They change rhythm when they sense your resistance but cannot name it. These cues are more valuable than any sentence. They tell you exactly when to remain silent and when to reframe. Reframing is your invisible sword, but it must be used softly. You do not challenge their logic directly, you redirect meaning. You say, that is one way to view it, though there may be another angle. You neither agree nor resist, you widen the field instead. This keeps you calm while moving the discussion away from their chosen trap. Redirection is power disguised as open-mindedness. Provokers thrive on binary options, attack or defend. You dissolve that structure by creating a third lane of neutrality. You do not take sides. You take altitude. Altitude turns confrontation into observation, and observation turns emotion into data. When you collect data, you stop feeding their emotional economy. They lose supply and control collapses by starvation, not by fight. Remember this psychological principle. Energy follows attention. Where your attention goes, your emotional energy follows without consent. When you give full attention to provocation, you energize it. When you split attention, half inward, half outward, you reclaim control. Half of your awareness tracks your breathing and inner calm. half watches the pattern in front of you like an experiment. This dual attention state confuses manipulators deeply. They feel seen but not absorbed, heard but not entered. Their influence slides off because your awareness is anchored elsewhere. This anchoring is the hidden technique behind emotional immunity. You do not resist force with force. You absorb observation with detachment. Detachment is not indifference. It is awareness without ownership. In emotional chess, provocation is a gambit, a sacrifice for control. They give small insults to win large reactions. You counter the gambit by treating every attack as data, not danger. The insult becomes an experiment, not an injury. When emotion becomes information, it stops being ammunition. Information cannot wound. It can only guide adjustment. Machiavellian intelligence applies this through layered neutrality. Layer 1, outer calm, tone, pace, expression. Layer 2, inner separation. Emotion felt but not acted. Layer 3, structural awareness. Who defines meaning and pace? When all three layers align, you become psychologically invisible. Invisibility means your calm cannot be used against you. There is another secret. Provocation often disguises hidden admiration. Those who attack stability often crave it unconsciously. They want to test if your calm is real or borrowed. They push to see if it breaks or expands. When it expands, something inside them realigns silently. Your calm becomes contagion, not resistance. But beware the subtle trap of pride in calmness. If you begin to admire your own composure, ego returns quietly. Ego is the loudest invitation for manipulation. It whispers, "You are in control," while someone else writes the script. True discipline has no pride, only clarity. Clarity watches without needing to win. Understand the psychological trick of emotional inversion. A manipulator may act fragile to trigger your protection. When you rush to comfort, they gain moral leverage. Once you comfort, you become emotionally invested, and investment breeds compliance. You counter inversion by respecting emotion but not rushing to fix it. You say, "I hear you, let us sit with it for a moment." This response acknowledges feeling without surrendering frame control. Provocation can also appear through silence itself. Some use absence, withdrawal, or deliberate indifference as weapon. They make you chase reaction, breaking your calm through uncertainty. When faced with emotional distance, stay internally still. Do not fill silence with justification or extra warmth. The one who fills silence first always loses position. Study the pattern of withdrawal games. They rely on curiosity and guilt. Curiosity makes you seek answers. Guilt makes you self-blame. Observe the urge, breathe through it, delay response until neutrality returns. If silence persists, define your own frame through measured closure. Say, "I sense distance. I will proceed calmly until clarity returns." This removes their ability to manipulate absence. The final defense is the art of emotional reset after conflict. No discipline is permanent if recovery is weak. After each storm, you must wash emotional residue from mind and body. Use reflection writing, physical movement, or silent observation for 10 minutes. Release residue, but extract pattern memory for future awareness. Every provocation becomes lesson, not scar. The truly powerful mind does not avoid emotional tests. It invites them quietly to practice composure in chaos. Each test strengthens your baseline and deepens calm presence. The calm that survives fire becomes unbreakable and unprovocable. Such calm no longer needs to defend. It simply observes truth unfold. But there is a darker layer you have not yet seen. What if calm itself can be weaponized by others who understand this manual too? And how do you recognize when serenity around you is actually strategic control? Do you know that calm can also deceive when used by hidden tacticians? What if the stillness you admire is not peace, but deliberate camouflage? If you wish to see through strategic calm, learn to read what silence hides. There is a rare level of manipulation that uses serenity as disguise. These people never shout, never rush, never react. They study and redirect. Their calm is not balance, it is calculated influence. They neutralize your alert system by appearing emotionally stable. And when your guard lowers, they install quiet suggestions that shape your behavior. This is the domain where emotional discipline turns into psychological mastery. To detect strategic calm, focus on intent behind tone, not tone itself. A truly grounded mind uses calm to stabilize both sides of tension. A hidden manipulator uses calm to dominate perception and steer choices. You can spot the difference by measuring alignment, not words. Does their calm make you clearer or more confused? Real calm increases clarity. Deceptive calm breeds subtle fog. Fog feels like uncertainty that grows only in one direction, toward their advantage. It begins with reassurance, mild compliments, or rational explanations. You start doubting your instincts because their tone sounds too composed. That is emotional anesthesia. the softest form of control. Your system stops questioning because it senses no threat. But lack of threat does not mean presence of truth. Machiavellian mastery uses this paradox deliberately. It knows humans equate calm with trust and trust with truth. So it crafts a perfect emotional mirror to disarm the skeptical mind. You must therefore separate calmness from morality inside your perception. A calm face can hide corruption as easily as peace. Learn to evaluate logic, not emotional flavor. The disciplined observer builds a double filter: tone, neutrality, and content precision. You listen as if decoding, not consuming. You slow the emotional response while checking each sentence for hidden intent. What are they normalizing? What behavior are they rewarding subtly? What silence are they asking you to maintain in return for peace? The answers expose whether calm is genuine alignment or strategic hypnosis. Never forget, power disguises itself in reason when it fears confrontation. True power never needs to rush. False power hides behind poise. You will know the difference when you sense slight moral dissonance in perfect tone. Your intuition whispers imbalance while logic hears harmony. Trust that whisper. It comes from the older intelligence within awareness. It has seen manipulation before reason was invented. Once you recognize deceptive calm, your next step is psychological grounding. Grounding means you mirror their pace but not their influence. You slow down speech, match rhythm, but stay emotionally self-contained. Matching rhythm buys time. Containment keeps you immune. They will sense your resistance but cannot identify its source. That confusion weakens their ability to steer your thoughts. Now you shift the hidden balance using calibrated questions. Ask, how do you define fairness in this context? Ask, what would change if both outcomes benefited equally? Ask, why do you prefer this timeline over a later one? These questions reveal the concealed direction of their motive. You make their structure visible without raising your voice. The key is detachment with precision. You cannot expose manipulation through accusation, only through exposure of logic. Accusation feeds defense, exposure feeds awareness. When logic is shown, calm masks fall apart naturally. A manipulator depends on fog, not fact. When fog clears, power collapses. Your job is not to punish deceit, but to dissolve its stage. This form of awareness is emotional aikido. Redirection, not resistance. You use their force to reveal its emptiness. You never push back harder. You let their calm echo into itself. Silence returns to them and they face their own hollowness. You remain anchored, watching the illusion dissolve without triumph. Victory here is absence of corruption within your own calm, and now comes the final layer of mastery: integration. Discipline without compassion becomes cold strategy, and cold minds fracture. Machiavellian mastery without empathy becomes paranoia, not intelligence. To complete your transformation, merge discipline with awareness and empathy. This does not mean softness. It means clarity with warmth. You become unprovocable yet humane, powerful yet balanced. When provocation comes, you sense energy shifts before words. You breathe, center, delay reaction, decode, and reframe. When deception comes, you read tone, rhythm, alignment, and silence. You test logic against motive, patience against pressure. When manipulation comes, you mirror pace, slow the tempo, and ask grounding questions. You lead through stillness, not resistance, and dissolve influence without conflict. You now understand the full circuit of emotional discipline: attention, observation, framing, tempo, and integrity. Attention expands awareness, observation extracts data, framing defines meaning. Tempo controls perception, and integrity anchors everything in truth. This circuit repeats automatically until calm becomes your natural baseline. You no longer manage emotion. Emotion now serves intelligence. In this state, power no longer feels like control. It feels like balance between awareness and timing. You see people's motives without judging them. You recognize emotional traps but walk through them peacefully. Your silence becomes message. Your pause becomes direction. You have reached the psychological still point where influence flows effortlessly. This is the hidden link between emotional discipline and Machiavellian mastery. It was never about manipulating others. It was about mastering self. The outer world reflects the inner frame. Whoever controls their frame rules perception. And when perception obeys balance instead of impulse, manipulation loses purpose. You are no longer a target in emotional warfare. You are the quiet strategist behind it. And now ask yourself one final question. If calm can protect you, guide you, and even influence others, what will you do with that power when the next storm begins?